We're up, are we? Looks good. Testing 1, 2, 3. Audio's there, live. Good morning, gang. Here's our work this morning. Any guesses? It could be a few things. It could be more embossing. No. It could be real printing, not here at my carving bench. Not barren wrapping. No. Good guess, though, yes. This one's okay. This doesn't need wrapping, so that's a semi-good guess. Semi-nut's a good guess. Not barren wrapping. We're moving ahead to the final color block in the microwave at last. The other day, we finished up the sky block. Finished up meaning first pass of the sky block. So today now we move on to the final block, which is going to be the block for the black gradation. As we mentioned before, in a real hook size set, this is the sky block reused, and that's why the farthest boat usually on traditional images of this gets the black covered up here. In our own Great Wave print, we've separated those two, so our black doesn't hit this boat. That's, if you're checking other Great Wave versions, almost all of them, the black on the sky hits this boat, because that's the block they used when they were first test printing it, back in 1840. We've separated it, and we're going to do the same thing for our microwave version. The block for the sky gradation is going to be a different block from the sky, so it won't include the boats. There's two reasons we're doing that. One is because we don't want to include the boats in the black, and in our print party room we can't use the same block at the same time, so we're going to use two different blocks. So anyway, what you're going to see me doing now is another, for the last time for this print, transfer. I'm going to make a transfer, and this requires a different transfer than we normally do. Transfer sheets are normally this: we print the key block and we paste that down on a blank block. But this one needs to be transferred twice. We need these key lines to be printed onto the color block. I also need the location of these foam blobs to be transferred. There's no way I can trace them. So this transfer sheet, well, let me just do it. You can see as I do it. What I'm going to first do is I'm going to use a piece of test paper. So I want to really make sure first these two blocks are lined up together before I go ahead and use my real transfer sheet. So what you're about to see here is a little test printing. Where's my blue brush? One step closer to the octopus. Yes, 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 I know. As far as my priority list goes, this is, other than my daily priority that has to be done, the print parties and whatever, other than the daily priorities, this is the priority job, but this is now nearing completion. Once this priority job is out of the way, the next thing will be really the first floor. I've got to spend every waking moment that I can down on the first floor. We're getting close there, but there's still some major jobs to be done. And once the first floor is up and running, the top of my priority list is the octopus, absolutely. So we're getting closer, getting closer, getting closer. Okay, just a little quick test print on some just copy paper. It doesn't matter. We're not going to, it's not stable, but we're not going to beat it up. I want the sky area. I'm not even going to print the bottom. I don't want to distort the paper. So there's our sky area. That's a test. Put that aside for a minute. Now we have to wash this actually. I should have washed it first. This is our finished sky block. Time to wash it off. This is the leftover thin Gampi paper. There's still a touch of it left on there. last little clump of used Gumpy fibers. Should we cycle it? I don't know. Blank brush, just wash it off. Okay, block is clean. Okay, I don't want to put that blue on it because this block is going to be used for a light gray sky, so I don't want to tint it with blue, so we'll just use a bit of black, a bit of gray here. I think we have a lineup. I think we have a lineup. Okay. I think that can go down a hair here. Now that I think about it, it's a tiny little bit out. Yeah, tiny bit needs adjustment here. This actually is a good example of why we ourselves, why we never use such huge Kento areas. Beginners use these giant Kento. And when you have to adjust them, you can't adjust them easily. We use a tiny little Kento area, a corner mark or something. Because when you have to adjust them, it's easy, but adjusting a huge, large one like this is really difficult. Well, what's happening here? Questions. What's happening? My mother's here. Good morning, good morning. What's happening? Giving David a surprise. I don't understand the surprise. I'm sorry. Jed's here. Is that the surprise? I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm sorry. Okay. Hi. Glasses on, glasses off. What's happening here today? Ah, Soka, my kid's visiting. All right, my granddaughter. Okay, I didn't know. I'm sorry, no idea. It's okay. For those who don't know what's going on here, I have a new granddaughter as of a couple of months ago, and I guess they're visiting my mother at the moment, which I didn't know. I'm sorry, Soka. It's okay. So Clara here. So we've perhaps got the youngest Twitch member here and the oldest Twitch member here watching today. I don't know. Excuse me a minute here. It's a bit too much going on here this morning. So. Day to be doing the most critical job on printmaking with all kinds of chat going on, but okay, whatever, no problem. Okay, let's try this again. Another proof copy. Might take 2 or 3 tries till I get this right. Let's see how it goes. Which glasses? Anybody see where I put the other block? Oh, there it is. Well, that's better. We're on. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, let's do our job here. That was a test. Now, here we go. We got real transfer paper. My last sheet prepared for this. So this is going to get printed twice. Once on the key block, once on the gray block, and then pasted down onto the I have no idea about the conversation here. I'm sorry. You guys have to talk by yourselves for a minute till I get this done. This is important work here. This is absolutely the most important part of any of these colored prints, transferring the color. If you screw this up, then it's almost impossible to recover. It's really the most important part of the job. So as I said, we're going to print this twice. There's the key block impression. And now fairly quickly, before things get changed and before the paper expands and whatever, now going to get the gray, because I need the location of the foam. That's all we're really trying to pick up from this block. It's going to be pasted down right here. This is not, of course, what the print is going to look like. There's going to be no dark gray sky. There will be a light, different sky here. We need this to get the position of the foam for the black block that will appear here. It's just these specks that we need. And for the final time on this print, we're going to have to warn you about the headphones. I'm going to bang with my hammer here for a second. So if you've got headphones on, if you're an ASMR listener this morning, be careful. We're going to make a noise here. 3, 2, 1. Okay, just tiny corners cut for now. We'll make them larger later. Just so I can get the paper in here and here. And down she goes. This has to be really a bit rushed, you know, that paper that we just did, it's sort of expanding. It's got moisture from that pigment in it. And you can see it's a bit wibbly-wobbly. It's trying to expand. So we've got to get it down there before it changes shape too much. Normally with the transfer sheets, it's only the key lines. It's thin. There's not a lot of pigment on that block. But because I had to transfer the wide area, there's more moisture in there than I would like to see. A bit too much paste here. Okay, let's get this down. Okay, there's going to be two peels here. Here's the peel of the backing support paper. We don't need this anymore, it's coming off. It's done its job, thank you very much. Out you go. And now we'll get a peel of the gumpy. Excuse me. The gumpy paper, thin as it is, can be thinned down even more to help us see where the lines are even more clearly. Start at one end, rip part of it off. You can see what's happening here. Hope you can see. The gumpy paper is really wet from the glue, and it's not dissolving, but it just separates really easily. We can pull most of it off, leaving, I don't know, it's less than half that stays on. Here we are. There she is, she's coming off. Very nice, very nice, very nice. It's too bad that gumpy paper, it's expensive stuff and it just lives for a few seconds, you know. It sat there waiting to be prepared, it transferred, and now it's mostly going in the garbage. It's really sort of sad a bit, but it's done its job. I can hold it open. I could have left it open to show you, you know. Now it's going to be thrown away. It just did its job in the course of a few seconds, and now it's done for. Can't be helped, but it's done its job. We now have beautiful. Look at that transfer. My God, they just don't get any better than this. Is it focusing? Can you see that? Look at this, you know. I've now got to cut the block that keeps the sky area. So I'll cut away the outside, and then I'll cut out the foam areas. It's a wonderful, wonderful system. Other people are using chemicals to transfer, or wintergreen, or tracing, or whatever, photographic material. It doesn't get better than this. This is the exact lines that I carved, reproduced here perfectly. Okay, let me get some of the crap off the bench here. Excuse me. Let's have a look, catch up on the chat. Sorry about this, to ignore you. Can't see much of what's happening here. I think just general conversation, okay. Hello to Humi-chan and Claire, if you're still here, dropping in, whatever, visiting Grandma. Thanks for going over there. Okay, that's it. Good, good, good. I better get to work now, that's all. Again, to help you make sure I keep it in focus, I'll pull in the scope. I don't really need a microscope for getting around the edge of this thing, but I've learned it's the only way now I can keep the area of carving under the camera. By putting this lens in here, I can see, we're going to start here, put that into the center of view, and zoom in. Look at this, it's such a nice block. We're going to be here. Look at that. So cool. You can see, look at these fibers. You can see, right? This is leftover gumpy fiber. Pull a few more off with my finger. Doesn't matter. If you rub too much here, you know, if you're trying this yourself for the first time, you got to rebalance this carefully, you know. If you rub too much, you'll get too much paste on there. Bang, you'll pull it off. Well, I've done that. Been there, done that. It's a question of experience. Some of my friends, you know, or acquaintances over in the more modern printmaking style, you know, people over in the West doing this, they're trying all other kinds of stuff. I think the last one, somebody sent me a post. They've tried rubbing, they make their transfer, tape it down or something, rub wintergreen oil, I think they said on the back, and that puts some transfers it. But it just doesn't get better than this. It's wonderful. It's totally invisible. And as you know, what I'm going to do now is the part I'm trying to carve, if it was still smaller, if I needed more clarity, I've got oil here. Let me zoom out, or I can hold it up here. I've got a little flask of camellia oil. They normally come in a little bottle here in Japan. People put it on their hair. People, you know, older people, some generation. But we get it, and Goto-san, the Baron maker, supplies it like this in a little flask. And what people do is, what he recommends they do is, it's for the bottom of the Baron. He recommends soup spraying on. Now, we don't do that because it's way too much. Just a little tiny dab, that's almost even too much. Spreading it around on the bottom of your Baron, and actually on the pad that you keep the Baron on. If you just keep it in there, oil gets on the pad, and then your Baron is always smooth and easy to use. So it's for the Baron. Mostly we have this stuff. But today, just a little dab in my finger, and let's go down here. Rubbing a bit of oil on this, and it just makes it even more completely transparent. Okay, Dave, be quiet for a little bit and get carving. Funny thing about camellia too here, in Japan here, it's extremely expensive. That little thing I just showed you, this is, I don't know, like $10 or something. It's here in Japan, Japan treats camellia oil like maybe the Italians treat olive oil. There's certain mountains and certain groves and certain companies and certain styles you'll get it that's supposed to be pure virgin or whatever. And then there's other people that just make junk olive oil. Whatever. Here in Japan, the real camellia oil comes from one place in the country. It's Oshima, an island called, large island, Oshima. And the economy of that island is pretty much totally growing camellia trees and doing the oil extraction, stuff like that. And here in Japan, traditionally, like I said, it was cosmetic industry. It was used for hair and stuff. Over in China, they use it a different way. They cook with it. I don't know the actual details, whether it's just raw in the bowl and you throw your vegetables in and fry it, or it's some other form of cooking, I don't know. But in China, it's a much, much cheaper commodity. And it's the same product. But because it's a different usage, the price structure is different. I was trying to buy some a while ago, so I got online and figured out, you know, here we go here. But in Japan, it's so expensive. It's X bucks for a few milliliters. The Chinese website, and the price was staggering. They were charging like $120. But that wasn't for a little flask. That was for a 55-gallon drum. So I contacted him, and like that was the minimum order. You had to order a 55-gallon drum of camellia oil because it was being sold for wholesale to kitchen suppliers out of restaurants. And of course, the last thing I want is a 55-gallon drum. So I said no. But they wrote back and forth, and they agreed to sell me. What did I buy? Something like 10 liters. And I asked them to pack it for me in small plastic bottles, and we did. We have over in our Ome workshop. We have now it's about 20 liters, I think, of this stuff, all packed in small plastic bottles. So we have a lifetime supply. I don't think I'd trust Chinese liquid products for cooking with. I don't know what the heck's in there, but for rubbing onto our barons, I don't have any problem with it. So again, what we're doing here, if it's going to be a color block, and what I'm doing is the line here, I'm just splitting it 50-50. For our own color blocks, we sometimes vary. We'll cut quite a lot into the line, or we'll cut back at the edge of the line, depending on whether this is a lighter color or a darker color. We have a risk. If we cut too far, the darker color goes into this area. If we cut too far back, we might get a white gap at the edge here. But because this is going to be printed by our party attendees, who are just as likely to go one way as the other, I'm just going to try and split this right down the middle of the line. Too much junk on the bench here. You're saying any vegetable oil. That's interesting. That's not the case, actually. I know printers over the years here have tried many, many different things, and it's interesting. We have the oil not just for transparency and not just for smoothness. Camellia oil is interesting in that it doesn't go smelly during the summer. This oil just sits here and it could care less whether it's cold or warm or cold or whatever. Other vegetable oils, like the kind of stuff you're going to use in your kitchen, safflower oil or whatever they all are, you leave it out, it's going to start to stink. It goes smelly. And camellia oil doesn't for some reason. I've got no idea about the chemistry involved or what else. There's nothing else added to it, but it doesn't smell and it doesn't go off. And the other thing it doesn't do is, because of the back of this thing, this gets rubbed on the printing paper. If we tried using a mineral oil, and I tried this back in Canada before I had this stuff, a little like a watch oil or something. Did you hear something? I'm not sure. Miss Carlson's upstairs. Maybe it was her. We're not supposed to have any rats here anymore. I thought I heard something there. They're still here. Did you hear that? They're still here. How many weeks has it been since we shut the last entrance off? 6, 7, 8 weeks? Quiet now. I don't know. So we still aren't at the end of this yet. Interesting. We were thinking about that. You know, we shut down all the entrances, so there was 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 rats up there. We don't know how many. And when you think about if they've got no food, what happens, 10 rats, whatever, however many there are. At some point, one of them dies, I suppose. And then the other 9 actually have some food for a little while. So then they extend a little farther. And then 9 are left, and at some point, with no extra food and water, one of them dies. And then the other 8 have some food. I guess that's the way it goes. I don't really know. I know nothing about how to kill a rat colony. But this could be it. There could still be hanging in there, the last 1 or 2 or whatever. So we're not done yet. We're not done yet. Ha ha ha. Or a new tenant and we've got another entrance. Okay, whatever. Shop cat, no, shop cat doesn't help. There are no rats in the shop. There's no rat shit in the shop. They never come out here. We've searched. You know, if they've been out at night, then you'll see rat droppings, and the cat would be useful. There's no access between where they are up there and here in the shop. So a cat would do nothing. We can't see these rats. There's no traces on them. We can't touch them. And we're talking about 2 totally separate zones here. The shop zone and the area above the ceiling, which is, as far as we can tell, totally sealed. And I think that's true because in 4 years we've never seen any rat shit in the shop. You know, we have food laid out in the party room. And if they were in the shop at night skulking around, we would see droppings. There are none. Anyway, sorry about that. Let's get back to work. Yeah, cats in the ceiling, that's a different story, but whatever. So this is interesting news today. We still have guests up there. I thought we were clear of it. It's been weeks since I heard any sound. Right here by the mountain. This is the most critical part because this is where they're going to be rubbing their brush with the deepest black. And even for us, this would be a difficult zone, because when you're doing a gradation here, the darkest part would tend to get too much paste and come over the edge here, so we don't want blurring into this mountain. Right there, that's going to be the key part of having this block done by the beginners, right there, the tip of the mountain. There's another touchy place too, all these small little men here. Around the big curve. Is this a rerun? Why is he recarving this print? And I thought I had it explained in the scroller that runs at the bottom here, but I guess not everybody sees this. So. We explained this is an extra version of this print for the print party room. Simplified version. It's going to be a gigantic hit, assuming it works. And there's a sort of possible downside here, is that if we get this up and running in the print party room, and if it's successful, people can make good prints with it, then it's going to be difficult to know what to do. Nobody is going to want to do anything else. And the staff's a bit worried about this, that we will become a permanent just print the Great Wave facility, and nobody will want to do anything else. So I don't know. The Little Peach Boy print obviously has had its day, but it was such a good print for teaching this. The colors combined easily, people could print it easily. It was such a good job. So I'm not really sure if this has been a good idea to try this. We'll see. This might need explaining too. Why am I carving up here at the top of the sky? Let's zoom out so you can see what's happening here. We should explain this, I think. This block is going to be used really just to put the color in this area. You know, on the real Great Wave print, there's a strong black gradation down here above the mountain. We need to print that, but you can't just cut a block, for example, this big, because if you do that, then there's the edge of the block will show as you rub it. So you move the edge of the block a bit higher. But again, no matter where you move it, you're rubbing your bearing tool here to print this dark area. You still are pressing the paper and it would leave an edge. So the easiest way to make sure there's no edge left over is just simply to cut another block that is the whole sky area. Even though pigment will never get up this high. And once we're printing this, pigment will be rubbed at the bottom. We'll be taking the brush. Do I have a blank brush here? We'll be taking the brush and we'll be rubbing sideways here. And the brush will have pigment just at the end of it and paste at the top. So this area will get black, this area will taper off. But then when you are then rubbing the impression, your tool rubs all over the place. So the best way, the safest way, is just to cut another block for the entire sky area, even though there will never, ever, ever be pigment up at the top of it here. It doesn't matter. The purpose here is to make sure that gradation zips to nothing and then there is no line where the end of the block is. So it seems a bit wasteful, but it's not. It's much, much safer. And this is not just because it's a party block. We would do the same thing if we were doing this ourselves. You make sure you don't have a line at the edge of the gradation. Okay, let's get in here to the twiddly bits here. Zoom in again. Is that going to get us in there? Crows seem busy out there today, are they? What day is it today? It's Thursday. Shouldn't be the last night's garbage or the garbage that's being picked up this morning that we put out last night. It's the recyclable garbage. It's the plastics, cans, bottles, newspaper, stuff like that. Nothing specifically tasty. Some days when the raw garbage is out there, you know, the kitchen garbage, the crows have attempt to try and get into the bags and stuff. But today's garbage is not, at least in this area. We're 8:46. This could be Dei-chan or it could be Cameron. I don't know who's up here first this morning. No idea. Let's see. Heavier footsteps. It's a he, not a she. Gonna. Wasn't. Oh, it is an Dei-chan. I thought it was Cameron going by the footsteps. Look at that. I was totally wrong. How you doing this morning?
Thank you.
You okay?
Yeah.
Quiet commute, or was it difficult there? Trains crowded today?
Not much. Not really.
If you want to come and sit here for a while, or too embarrassed or too shy?
No,
You're...
thank you. Just now we are near the...
Oh, wow. Thank you, thank you. If I can bring it over and show everybody. That'd be fun.
Well, it's rocks though.
Well, you can, no, it's okay. You can open it. It'll be fun. Show people. Thank you. That'll be a cool idea. This is one of the things that when Cameron and I are chatting here, you know, it's not always talking about printmaking. These people are really interested in Japan and our culture here. And there's lots of times then when Cameron's talking to them, it's not about printmaking at all, you know.
Yeah.
And this would be a perfect example of that. If you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Sure, come in and sit down. For those of you who don't know,